Aitah for not giving my dad back his house unless my mentally disabled sister is guaranteed to live there? My mom just passed away and the family drama is sky high. Originally it was me, my brother and my dad all on the title. Because my brother and my dad were both running high debt, my dad withdrew my brother's name and his, leaving me as the sole owner of the house. My brother, his wife, his kids, my dad and my sister are all living there together. Every day my sister runs over to my house from morning to evening before going home to sleep. I don't ask her why and she doesn't want to talk too much about. She just tells me no one mistreats her, but it's very somber over there and it's nice to get away from the house my mom died in. She does mention my brother acts like he owns the house now, and she doesn't have any say or do about it. It's like living under a different landlord who now has very strict rules, compared with my mom who always doted on her and spoiled her. My brother and his family moved in 2 months before my mom passed away. My dad and I had a disagreement about my mom's care after she was discharged from the rehab center. I wanted to continue her care under a professional because I didn't think we were up to the task. My dad wanted to take her home, and me alone to move in with him to help him. I'm all for helping if there was no other way, but I wanted a more reasonable approach. My family is completely spent and drained from me being out at the house for 3 months prior, putting all my resource and time taking care of all my mom's needs. My wife just had a newborn, and she was also cooking a different diet for my parents twice a day for 3 months straight without my help at home. She was also working from home without me. My daughter was in danger of failing 4th grade. My family had to recuperate. I communicated with him. He threw $10K in my face and said I would get that monthly. It was more than we were making, but I didn't give it a second thought. I've been underwater for the past 6 months, but that's no going to fix any of the problems my family was having, and I certainly didn't want to take money from my parents who both retired when my mom fell sick almost 2 years ago. I pushed it back and asked him why don't he sell the house and buy a cheap mobile home near me. Use any money left over from the house and live stress-free while he takes care of my mom and my sister. I can run over every day and help. He insisted he wanted my mom to die in their house, which I understand. My brother was nowhere seen helping me shoulder responsibilities for my mom the past 3 months. I had complained about it with him for a while. His wife also had a newborn, and his business was failing. He had no leftover money to survive like I did, so he had to work different jobs to pay for his high-end apartment that costed twice as much as my mortgage per month. So it was the obvious choice. I told my dad. I told the both of them to live together to take care of each other. My dad wanted me, though no matter what I said, and my brother's wife said when my mom was healthy, she forbidden them from ever moving back home because she couldn't stand the family drama and the loud kids. Then when my wife spoke with my sister-in-law about the $10K offered to us, her tone changed. My dad also spitefully mentioned to my brother that he was going to hire illegals from Home Depot to take care of mom if I didn't want to help him. Everything was becoming my fault. When the two of them heard money was money involved, they packed their bags and moved in the next day. It was really sketchy to us, but whatever. Mom has company now and dad has help. Over the next week my dad started turning me into this vile son. He would get angry when I skipped a day of visiting them. He kicked me out of the house when I did visit. He told everyone I was a hypocrite. My brother gave up everything to run to my parents' side while I only cared about my business and money. Since then the falling out between us has only been worse. I know my brother has always sucked my parents' blood for all the money they have, and continued to do so up to the day my mom died. I didn't think he would freeload with his family in my parents' house while the two of them didn't work. My dad still pays for all the bills and grocery, but he's convinced my brother and his wife are good and my wife and I are evil. I just paid off my brother's debt unknowingly when my dad asked to borrow $15,000 from me. It was never paid back. He made me swear not to tell my mom or my wife because he didn't want to worry them. So I did it. I wired it to him without question. I also opened several credit cards prior to shoulder $45K my brother owed to the banks. My dad used that $15K he borrowed from me to pay his debt, and ran the rest through my business using his credit cards to pay off his debt. He didn't have to pay a single dime. The only money missing is the $15K, and they never made any mention to pay it back, and I've never pursued it. I'm also missing a $14K tax overpayment check that was sent to my parents' house. It's been several months and I still haven't got a response from the IRS. It was so difficult asking anyone in the house about that check without being accused of accusing then stealing my check. After my mom passed, my dad never contacted me. Out of the blue they wanted to take my daughter out to dinner and my daughter alone for her birthday. It was so creepy. My dad didn't flinch when I told him my daughter was in danger of failing 4th grade. He only said, "My daughter doesn't appear normal." Then she started getting calls and texts from my sister-in-law inviting her out to play with her kids. My daughter has stated in the past my brother and sister-in-law don't even acknowledge she exists. She also called me wife and was very insistent on taking my daughter out to dinner, because my dad missed her, and her kids missed her. We were super creepy out and told them my daughter was busy with school to go that day. She then started naming all the days of the week when my wife finally stated firmly that my daughter was not going anywhere without her parents. A day later I get a letter from my real estate agent demanding I sign the house back to my brother and dad. I called my real estate agent and found out originally the transfer was meant for just my brother, but because of the tax implications between siblings, my dad had to get on the title also. I still could not figure out what my daughter had to do with all this. But I told him I was going to get back with him. The next day my dad called my wife and demanded we sign the title back to the rightful owner. My wife said she has nothing to do with it since she has no stacker in the house. But she did question the motivation for cutting my name out to replace it with just my brother. He was unaware that we knew from the real estate agent he was trying to give the house my brother directly. He defended against her accusation that he was trying to give the house to my brother, because his name was on it too. My wife then told him what the real estate agent told us, that he was forced to be on the title to avoid taxes. He then started crying over the phone, calling us cruel for misunderstanding him and my brother. He accused us of trying to steal his house, knowing he is vulnerable right now because his wife passed. My wife really wasn't accusing anything. She just asked why not just add in their names instead of cutting me out. He switched gears really quickly and started yelling at her. He demanded the house be returned to him and asked us repeatedly if we were going to sign or not. He then went back to getting our sympathy and begged us to return it to just him if we didn't trust our brother. He would be the sole title owner. He needed the title back to pay for the bills and do projects for the house. Because me and him weren't talking right now, he had a $1,500 energy bill last month. My brother is the only one helping him and he couldn't negotiate the bill without being on the title. Their bill used to be $300 at most during summer, but my brother's family has been running up the bills since they've moved in. He swore he would write a will and split among the 3 siblings equally when he passed away. We weren't interested in the house. We just wanted to know what was going on. Everything that was happening made us very uneasy. My dad wouldn't stop overtaking my wife during the conversations, pulling out cheap shots at me and villainizing me the whole time. Only my wife knew how much I suffered mentally and physically over my mom. I lost my appetite when my mom's cancer came back, and my weight dropped over 30 pounds since, and I continue to drop. I just can't get motivated to eat anymore. I've been going to therapy sessions bi-weekly and seeing a psychiatrist to treat my PTSD and anxiety, both from not being able to save my mom and my dad treating me like thrown away trash the whole time while I'm losing my mom. My wife told him this and he said she was lying to get the public's sympathy. But no one knows except close family members and he refuses to acknowledge it. My wife got tired of his subterfuge and one-way talk. She couldn't put up with him bad-mouthing her husband anymore, and flat out told him to call back when she's allowed to speak and stop lying himself. My wife and I deliberated for a long time about the motivation for taking back the title so forcibly. We didn't want the house. Right before my mom passed I texted him to take back the house as soon as his situation improves. He used that against me over the phone with my wife, calling it admission to relinquish ownership to him. My real estate agent told me all it is proof that I didn't want the house and they signed it over to me willingly, and not under any kind of distress. We pieced together several conversations from my sister-in-law that my wife had near the time of my mom's funeral. My brother hated the hometown we grew up in and would die rather than raise his kids there. He resented the people of that town and refused to set up work there, calling them low lives and ghetto. His life belonged to places like Beverly Hills and he swore he would never let his wife and children be around filth like this. This was all temporary for my mom until she passed. They gave up their life and business, she said, to take care of my mom. Not because they were already failing to pay their bills, and their business was about to collapse in a few months. The landlord for some reason hated my brother so much, he doubled my brother's rent, not expecting him to renew it. They had their site on a location out of state, but what can they buy or rent with their money situation and tarnished credit? We suspected they talked my dad into selling the house to move with them. The urgency comes because they've found a house and need collateral before the property was taken. I have no problem if they wanted to hold each other on a sinking ship and die together, but don't take my sister with then. But the issue was, my sister-in-law has stated several times my brother cannot stand living with my sister. They have no plans for her. It wasn't their concern what happens to her. It was very misplaced for me to call my sister-in-law and ask her to take care of my sister and dad in my mom's place. With my mom gone, a voice of reason is needed between two hot-headed men in the house. I told her I would help them with any bills as long as she does that. My mom's last request before she died was for the two boys to take care of my sister. It was unsettling when my sister would start coming over our house every day since my mom passed. She's been ignored by my dad every day. Everyone else stays shut in their room. She wanders the house alone, frying eggs to eat when she's hungry. She sees my dad crying to my sister-in-law and pouring his emotions out to her, and my brother spends time driving him everywhere. She wonders why she is so worthless that her dad doesn't confide in his blood-related daughter. My brother takes care of all her necessities, but he is also very harsh with her when she steps out of line. She notices the difference in treatment with her and his wife and children. He fears his wife, and she has never seen him raise his voice with his kids like he does with her when she messes up. She blames herself when things go wrong for her, so it was natural for us to take the next step. We wanted to include conditions to protect my sister if we were going to sign the house over to them. I wrote up a contract to be included with the title. We have considered the alternative in case they don't agree to our demands and breach the contract. My wife is very supportive of taking my sister in if my dad no longer wants guardianship of her, or is no longer unable to take care of her. But we are not going to allow her kicked out of her home that my mother left behind so it can be sold and used to profit a brother and sister-in-law that have lived like leeches all their life who have no room my sister in their schemes. I won't allow a misguided father to be fooled by a brother who has no love for anyone else but his wife and children. We have calls from brother, a usually meek man with few words, called me wife with an epiphany of words demanding to hand the house over. Him and my dad refused to sign the contract, demanding we give the title over without conditions. He denies wanting the house, but my conditional requirements have left my dad all the past few days. I will carry the reputation of my father, and he doesn't want to see that. If we refuse to sign it over, then he will toss us my sister, which my wife calmly replied, "That's fine." He then asked if that's what she really wanted because it's more responsibility than taking care of a child. To which my wife said she had no problems with if that's what he wanted. She just wondered why he makes such a big deal out of it since it's his blood-related sister and why it is so hard to guarantee her a permanent living place, to which he replied that everyone is an adult now and needs to carry their own weight in Leah. He then switched back to yelling at her to give me the phone and demanded I sign the title now. I didn't want to talk to him, and my wife thinks he isn't worth my time to hand over the phone to me because she is handling him fine. My brother and I haven't spoken to each other in 16 years and suddenly he wants to talk to me. He was calling from multiple phones to find me, including my sister's phone. I told them to tell him, there's nothing to talk about. Either sign it or not. They sign it, agreeing to my terms to take care of her and treat her humanely under the title of owners and guaranteeing her a place to live free from abuse and neglect. If the house were to be sold, it needed court approval so that the funds from the house be put in her trust or to provide her with an equally livable place. They could even live with her. It was no different than my dad's current duty as legal guardian. My brother had a special stipulation in place that he could not make major decisions about the house without my dad's and court's approval. This is to prevent him from borrowing against the house, or selling it given his past financial history. He would be responsible for legal damages it would cost everyone including my sister and father if it were to be investigated that he was involved in it for his benefit. Since he doesn't want the house like he said, then it should matter. They would also not be to transfer it outside anyone besides them without court approval that would jeopardize my sister's living situation. My dad called my sister on the other line threatening to throw her in a mental hospital for betraying my brother and him. She's been oblivious to what we were doing to protect her the whole time and as never spoke ill of them since she's been coming over. My sister lashed out and called my brother over-controlling dictator who treated her mother's house like he owns the place. She asked my dad why he stays quiet when my brother yells at him. Why does he keep defending my brother and his wife? Things escalated and my brother told my wife that my sister is no longer allowed him and he is throwing away all her things. It was hard for us not to confirm our suspicions. They fully confirmed my fears for my sister. The contract itself has no weight unless I take it to court to get it officialized, which I was not planning to. It was to call out behaviors that were unacceptable towards my sister and to remind them to love her. My father apologized my sister this morning. He was upset because I forced him to sign a potion pill contract but wouldn't tell her what was in it. He has told my sister this morning that the only couple that is good to her are my brother and his wife. We are evil and manipulative, using her to take his house. I just got another angry call from his relative, demanding I give back the house to the rightful owner. I told them the title is handed on a silver platter. Right now my dad is working everyone against me, pressuring me to sign the house over to him without conditions. All these calls are from people who don't love my sister, or cared about my mom when she was alive. They are all my dad's friends and relatives, so they believe it is his alone and he is free to do what he wants with it. My sister's needs and my mom's wish are irrelevant. There is going to be riots soon at my door and I can't believe it is happening after my mom passed. I know if my mom could see us in the afterlife, she would be heartbroken. She loves all of us so much, but also knows all our faults. She knows my dad has been a lying narcissist his whole. She knows my brother doesn't carry his own weight like I do. She knows I'm weak-hearted, and easily forgives everyone, which is why my dad always relies on me to shoulder the family's responsibility one day. I was her favorite child and my brother is apparently my dad's. However, my mom always treated everyone equally. What she doesn't know is what I feel now is my dad used me until I was no longer useful and threw me away when I didn't do his unreasonable demands, and slighted him. That he pitted his children against each other to play victim in it all when she was no longer her to be his voice of reason. My mom were the guardrails against my dad's worst impulses and behaviors his entire life. Everything he has done his entire life felt minimalized because my mom always forgave him. She was haunted by his serial lying cheating when the brain cancer took over her mind. It was all she could think about the entire time as her mind died. I lied to myself and convinced myself my dad has changed and he was no longer that man now. He never admitted it to us that he did any wrong, but I figured he was too prideful for it and it was his way of keeping his role as a father and leader of this house. How could I ever think the father that used me and my siblings our entire lives to stand in for his bankruptcy businesses, where I couldn't get health insurance? I was kicked out of the house because he forbid me from marrying my wife, that manipulated my mother's family against her so he could sleep with her sister, that took revenge on me when I was only 11, that was embarrassed and resented my mentally ill sister her entire life, that kicked my oldest sister out of the house at 16 for having a boyfriend and went on to strip to survive and commit from drug addiction, and enabled a monster of a brother could love us?